What's up, everyone, and welcome to the weekly Q&A. Today we're talking about The Mandalorian and only The Mandalorian. We took 20 questions from our patrons to celebrate the Season 2 finale, so just in case you haven't seen it yet and are subscribed to this channel, spoilers are ahead, so this is your warning.
Graham Gaskill asks if the Book of Boba Fett is the third season of The Mandalorian, or is it its own separate series?
This got answered on Monday, and I feel like a lot of people know it by now, but just in case, I have still seen a lot of people asking. So, yes, the Book of Boba Fett is its own series. Jon Favreau confirmed that Season 3 of The Mandalorian will come back. It'll still be following Din Djarin. It's just going to go into production right after Boba Fett finishes production, which is currently filming right now.
Yeah, we just don't know how long the series is and how much time in between the Book of Boba Fett and the next season of Mandalorian will be.
Right. But considering the way Season 2 ended, I think they're just trying to show a little separation. That was kind of like maybe the end of an era, and we're transitioning into something new, so they're giving us just a little something in between.
Caleb Diaz and Alex Harmon want to know if Boca Tan will be an antagonist for Din, or will she support his claim to the Darksaber?
This is one of the things I'm looking forward to most in Season 3 of The Mandalorian, which I think that's where we're going to see all that play out. Yeah, what's Boca Tan going to do? Is she going to be angry? Probably. Will she get on board with Din?
I don't think she's going to be an antagonist, per se. I don't know. Like, I think it would be kind of cool if they did fight, but it was kind of like a friendly fight. But I feel like she's just mentally at the point where she wanted so badly to kill Gideon and get the Darksaber back that, like, her whole world is upside down right now, and there's no telling what is going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's going to be some tension here, but I don't think that she's going to go full-on bad guy. I think that we're going to have to see both of them maybe just learn to compromise, where I don't think Din wants to be Mandalore. He doesn't want to wield the Darksaber, and he has never found it to be his purpose to unite his people. But he's probably going to have to put all that aside, be a little more selfless in what he wants, and say, for the greater good of Mandalore, I will do it. And Boca Tan is on the other side, where she wanted all that responsibility, but now she doesn't have it, but she also probably has to put aside her pride and do what's best for her people.
She's had a lot of lines in the season that point to, like, her main priority being to unify Mandalorians.
Yep.
So, I mean, there's a possibility that she could say, okay, well, Din, you have the Darksaber. You gotta help us unite the Mandalorians and take back Mandalore.
Yeah, and that's just something that I've said this a bunch already, but just that she wanted to unite. She wanted to be the one to unite Mandalore, and now she's not. So will she be able to get in line behind Din? And I think that's a really great drama that they've introduced.
Jason Schiffman asks if Cara Dune knew who Luke Skywalker was.
I think she'd probably heard the name. I don't know if she recognized him on the monitors until... Like, she was probably making connections. I see this as like, yeah, the whole Rebel Alliance has probably heard stories, and then everyone wonders, you know, what's true, what's not. It's kind of like William Wallace in Braveheart about how he's going to come and shoot lightning bolts out of his butt to to fight the English. And, like, obviously that's absurd, but in Star Wars, I mean... I guess in theory Palpatine could shoot lightning out of his butt. But getting off track.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. I don't know. Like, the name Luke Skywalker is pretty much a myth at this point. Some people may know more than others. It's hard to say. I'm sure we'll find out.
That's like what I think that scene was going for. Of, yeah, I mean, on one hand, they were hiding his face so that we wouldn't see, of course, that it's not Mark Hamill doing all the fighting and stuff, but it just makes him feel larger than life, like this mythical person. And yeah, Cara Dune's going to walk away from this and go to the New Republic and be like, I think I saw Luke Skywalker. And he showed up and he destroyed like 40 dark troopers like it was nothing, and then he just took this baby and left. And
it was nuts.
Yeah, like it's going to be another story where people are going to then play telephone with that, and it'll turn into he took down a whole Star Destroyer by himself. And like that's just kind of what I think they're going for with this, where yeah, I think Cara Dune knew the name. I don't think she'd met him or seen him before.
Tyler Shepard wants to know if Moff Gideon knew who Luke was.
Him, I'm going to say yes.
He seems to know a lot of things.
The line of, like, why don't you just, to be safe, assume I know everything? And he's in the ISB. Yeah, I think he knew who that was when it showed up.
Yeah. I mean, you could see the fear in his face when he saw what was happening on the screen. I think that was an indication of him having a pretty good idea of who that was.
It again could be something where he was like, oh, I didn't know it was going to be this crazy, but I think he knows who Luke is.
Ice Phoenix 2 asks if there will be a time jump in between seasons 2 and 3 of the show.
I could see one happening. I also don't know how like upfront and obvious they're going to be about it, because it seemed at first like The Mandalorian season 2 picked up like right away after season 1. But then there are a couple lines of like, oh, Mando, been a long time, and Greef Karga has aged noticeably. So, yeah, I don't know. I could see it having a time jump, and they just don't even really acknowledge it.
Yeah, it's tough to say with the dark saber drama. Like,
yeah, that's true.
They can't time jump too far unless they do like a huge time jump, and we find out what happened with the darksaber.
Yeah, I do agree. Like, I want to know, like, the conversation that happened right after Luke left.
Yeah, what if it picks up right after and everybody's just like,
so that darksaber though,
who is that?
Right.
The Star Wars Immortal wants to know if the rest of the series will focus on retaking Mandalore, or will Grogu return?
I think maybe both, and I don't even want to say that it's the rest of the series. I'm getting kind of a Good Place vibe from season 2, where The Good Place is a show where every time I thought I knew, oh, this is what this season is going to be about, they would shift gears, and like they would just wrap up that storyline and they would do something new that made sense, but they did that so often and so quickly. So I don't know, The Mandalorian could focus on Mandalore for a couple years, and then they could change to something else. We could go back to Grogu. I don't know.
I mean, I hope we see Grogu again, of course.
Think we will.
I mean, that line of him promising to see him again, it would be tragic if that didn't happen. But I could see maybe all of season 3 being more about, Boca Tan, the Darksaber, Mandalore, all that stuff. Jake Trix asks if it bothered us that Din let Grogu go off with a complete stranger.
Not really. I mean, yeah, he did, but it's like Luke is obviously not a stranger to us, so for storytelling purposes, I think it makes more sense to just have that happen instead of like a whole let's exchange contact information and they get their iPhones out, or they're trying, the airdrop's not working. And
yeah, I mean, I feel like Din kind of understood that Grogu knew who it was, and like he made that call or whatever you want to call it on Tython, and how else would a Jedi find them and show up and be like, hey, I'm here for the kid.
Right.
So, like, all he really needs to know is if he's a Jedi, and he asks him, and he says yes, and then he says Grogu wants permission, and they have a moment. So, I don't know. I think everything was kind of understood.
Yeah, I think Din feels safe about it. He's not happy, obviously, but just, like, to put my own mind at ease, I think my headcanon is that R2, like, did a little Bluetooth ping to Din's helmet or something, and it was like, here's how you can get in touch with us. See ya. Like, I think he has some way to contact Luke, if he needs to.
I hope so.
I hope so too.
Eric Romo wants to know how we'd like to see the adventures of Luke and Grogu told.
I mean, you said the word adventures. I feel like that is perfect for the Star Wars Adventures line of comics. It is aimed at kids, it's a much younger target. And yeah, just seeing Luke with a baby, training a baby, I think you could do some really cute, fun stories that like don't necessarily have to impact like the canon and the galaxy as a whole. It's just like Luke training a baby how to control his powers.
Yeah, I agree. I think comics are probably the best place for something like that, if at all. My first instinct was to say I don't want to see that.
Yeah, I don't think we have to see it.
Yeah.
But like not that many people our age that like watch The Mandalorian and stuff, they don't read Star Wars Adventures anyway. So like that just feels right to me to have it in this inconsequential kind of side of the universe where it's like, yeah, this is just for cute, fun Star Wars-y stories for kids. It doesn't have to be more than that. And
it's keeping Grogu alive and
keeping that money flowing.
Yeah, relevant. Edward Branscombe asks if retaking Mandalore would be too easy for the show because the stormtroopers don't seem like that big of a threat.
It's our heroes just mow through stormtroopers left and right. But no, I don't think that is going to, if they go that direction, I don't think that'll feel too easy. Stormtroopers are always as like competent as they need to be for the story. They can scale up. Not to mention we have dark troopers in the mix. Mm-hmm. Like I wouldn't guess that was the only ship that had dark troopers anywhere. I think we'll continue to see them, and we won't have a Jedi around to save the day this time.
Yeah, there's going to be another big bad, maybe a bigger bad.
That will be a question later, so we won't dive too deep into that.
Okay, but yeah, I agree. There's more people out there like Gideon. There's probably more dark troopers. They're gonna run into trouble, I'm sure. Kevin Dragos and Jim W. want to know how Gideon claimed the dark saber if it has to be won through combat.
I do not see him giving poodoo about the rules.
Probably not. Yeah, I could see somehow Boca Tan being captured and him just straight up taking it from her, and but still knowing the history behind it. I don't know.
I could just see her maybe surrendering. Maybe he did fight and beat her. He could have taken it. He could have, shamed her in front of her people. And that could be why she feels this need to take it back. Because no one ever took it back from Maul. And it's been in like these outsiders' hands for so long. So I could see that as being a possibility, but I could also see it being like she lost it to someone else and someone just gave it to Gideon and he was like, yeah, whatever. I don't care. I'll take this cool lightsaber.
Yeah, it's just he knows the history behind it. He knows that it means you have power. So I think he just wanted it as a statement piece.
Yeah. I guess for story reasons, I do hope that even if he didn't beat her in combat, like maybe she just surrendered it. Maybe that was when the Empire took down Mandalore and she was trying to stop the death of her people and she gave it back or gave it up. So I could see that happening because she was like, as long as he surrenders to me, that was important to her. So having that kind of mirror event, that makes sense to me.
Brian Pizzuti asks if we'll actually see Mandalore in season 3.
I'm going to guess no. I do think we will see Mandalore in live action. Maybe it'll be like the tease at the end of season 3.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe. Like, I'm leaning more towards yes because it has been mentioned so many times and everybody seems to have a different opinion about what it's like. Destroyed, not destroyed. Cursed, yeah. Turned to glass. According to Boba Fett. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I think, maybe towards the end of the season, maybe the season 3 finale they get there.
Like, I definitely think we're headed that direction, but I could see just for these 8 episodes, it could be more about like going around the galaxy and gathering Mandalorians to their cause before we go and try to retake Mandalore. I don't think one light cruiser full of like 4 Mandalorians. Well, I guess Boba Fett's not there, so 3 Mandalorians. Like, I don't think they're going to get the job done. They need help.
Wouldn't it blow everyone's minds, though, if Favreau and Filoni were like, you know what, we're going to start season 3 on Mandalore?
Yeah, that'd be crazy. It kind of like the way season 4 of Star Wars Rebels starts. Yeah, that would be insane.
Brett Baumler and Tyler Axelrod want to know who currently occupies Mandalore.
My guess is Thrawn.
Ooh.
I think that makes perfect sense.
I was going to say nobody, but that does make sense.
I think I've talked about this a bit before, but if we're going to do, and this is getting into some questions we'll answer later, but like, it makes sense to me to have Thrawn be like the people have likened him to Thanos for this little, we got the Rangers show, Ahsoka, the Mandalorian, the Book of Boba Fett, and they're all going to converge. It makes sense for all of them to converge onto Mandalore where Thrawn is.
That would be
that
cool.
could be the climax of all of these stories, and it would mean a lot for the Mandalorians. It would mean a lot for the New Republic. So I'm going to guess that Thrawn is currently occupying Mandalore. Maybe secretly, maybe not. I don't know.
I'm on board. Yunners asks who might be the main antagonist of season 3 if Gideon remains in custody.
So while I do think Thrawn might be this big bad, I think it's going to turn out that Gideon was like a subordinate. Earlier I was under the impression that he was in charge of the Imperial Remnant or trying to do his own thing. I do think he is answering to someone else.
Yes. And I don't know, I assume it's just going to be another new character.
I think we're going to build to Thrawn. I don't want to get into...
Like you don't think there's going to be like another middleman?
Yeah, I don't want to get into that habit where like, here's this big bad guy, but it turns out he's reporting to this other person. But guess what? They're reporting to Thrawn, and like we have this chain. Mm-hmm. If Thrawn's name has been dropped, I'm like, let's just get there.
So do you think Thrawn is also controlling the cloners? Like the people in charge of studying Grogu's blood, trying to clone?
Yeah, I have some weird theories about that I don't think are right, like that kind of line up with Legends stuff, because he did some cloning stuff in Star Wars Legends. But what I was going to say for season 3, though, I don't know that there will be a primary antagonist. Like, even Gideon wasn't around that much. I liked that season 2 cut away to him a lot more. Season 1, he was in the last 2 episodes and really just barely in the second to last one. I think we're going to get kind of a season 1 vibe where they just are on adventures, going to a new planet, trying to find new Mandalorians, and that will be the conflict. Mandalorians that do want to join them, don't want to join them. Maybe they want to take power for themselves. Maybe they fight Din for the Darksaber. Like,
maybe, you know, our theories and some of our friends' theories about the Armorer are right, and that she becomes an antagonist.
Right. Like, I think there are a lot of other possibilities. While we still hint at Thrawn, build up to Thrawn, I don't think he will be the main antagonist of season 3. And I don't know that we need to introduce another one.
Brandon Velasquez wants to know if Grogu might wind up teaching Luke about the Force as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he's the elder of the two.
Yeah, Luke's only known about the Force for 9 years at this point.
And he's never been to the Jedi Temple.
And beyond that, like, that is the point of taking on a Padawan. Teaching is still a teacher. Like, you still learn things from the people you're teaching. Like, Anakin and Ahsoka taught each other things constantly. And that they even talk about in, like, coming up in the High Republic. Like, they talk about just one of the best teachers is teaching someone else about the Force. So, yeah, I think that even if we don't see it, Grogu will help Luke evolve himself.
Tyler Chartier asks why Boba's show is called The Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah, the book. I don't know. To me, I think it's just supposed to be kind of like another one of those mythological things. It just makes it sound a little grander instead of just Boba Fett.
Yeah, I mean, so far all the episodes of The Mandalorian have been called chapters, so it would make sense that having a little separate miniseries within the Mandalorian world or within that time period, it makes sense to call it the Book of so-and-so.
Yeah. Interesting that they don't call it like the Book of Ahsoka as well. Like maybe there will be a literal book involved in this show, but I don't think so. I'm not really reading too much into it. I just think they were trying to find a way to spice up the title instead of just being like, it's called Solo or Andor.
It's called Boba Fett.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Book of Boba Fett just has like a little more interesting
little more pizzazz.
Yeah. Jim W. wants to know if the Dark Troopers were too easily beaten by Luke.
I don't think so.
I mean, a lightsaber compared to a droid, I don't care how hard it punches.
Right. Right. I'm like, we did have the speculation that maybe the Dark Troopers would be made out of Beskar. In Legends, they were made out of lightsaber-resistant material. But it does kind of make sense that the Empire would be like, why don't we just make battle droids again? Like, all the Jedi are gone. Like, these things will be effective again. Mm-hmm. And then the second they crank them out, like, dang it, here comes a Jedi. Just cuts them apart, like...
Yeah, I mean, that's probably why they're trying to replicate Force-sensitive beings. Gideon said to bring order back to the galaxy, because, I mean, as long as there's Jedi with lightsabers, whatever machines they make don't stand much of a chance.
Yeah, or just regular soldiers.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all... just it pales in comparison to a Jedi in their prime.
Gorley asks if Gideon has a larger fleet somewhere, or is he a subordinate to someone else?
Right. And so I did want to point out that they mention a fleet in the Eris episode, and we haven't seen that yet. We've seen Gideon's cruiser. So, yeah, even though I thought that Gideon was maybe a little more higher up the food chain originally, it does sound like he's just a cog in the machine, and we're going to see a larger fleet controlled by, I think, probably Grand Admiral Thrawn. It's probably the 7th Fleet.
Yeah, and, you know, we saw the mark on those...
The HK droids.
Yeah, the HK droids in the Ahsoka episode. I'm starting to think, I hope Thrawn is the next person above him. I'm gonna get tired of, like, middlemen that they have to just mow down. So, yeah. Cameron French wants to know if Din could take on a new Foundling to fill the hole left by Grogu.
I thought that was a sad question.
No.
Yeah, I don't think so. If he were to come across one, like, I don't think he's seeking one out.
No.
And I don't think he needs to run into another orphan. Like, I really like the story possibilities of this idea of, like, okay, your kid made you a better person, but your kid went off to college. So now what do you do?
Empty nest syndrome.
Exactly.
He's just got to deal with it. Find a new hobby.
Fencing, I guess.
Kate L. asks if it's true that Grogu's blood was involved in the creation of Snoke or the resurrection of Palpatine. Does that make them more lovable?
I wanted to pose this question to you specifically. If Palpatine or Snoke were created through Baby Yoda's blood, so there's a piece of Baby Yoda in Snoke or Palpatine, how do you now feel about Snoke? Is he a little cuter in your eyes?
No. It's the M count that they're using to possibly create these clones. It's not Grogu. You're not what is inside your body? You're not your blood. You're not what you eat. You're not your blood. I don't know. No! David McLeod wants to know how we would have felt about Sebastian Stan playing Luke instead of the digital Mark Hamill.
I'm glad it didn't happen, but when he first lifted the hood off and before he started talking, I was like, is that Sebastian Stan? Like, I couldn't tell.
Mm-hmm. It looked kind of like it was, and they still put some CGI on his face to make him look a little bit more like Mark Hamill. At this point, I don't know. I'm fine either way. If we had to have a scene with Luke and his face shown any longer than that, with more lines, more like spoken lines, yes, please cast a human being so that we're not taken out of the story with the weird uncanny valley-ness of it.
Yeah, and I'm someone who, like, I liked Luke's appearance, but I still am like, I don't want this series to become about the Skywalkers. I'm glad that it was like a Luke shows up and is awesome and exits the story for at least for now. If they had cast someone, I would have been like, oh, he's going to be around for a while. And I'm glad that it was Mark Hamill, and yes, there was a body double too, but just seeing Mark Hamill's name there, I was like, good. I tend to lean more towards keeping the character played by the same actor if possible. And even if it wasn't perfectly executed, they did as well as they could. With the technology now, I think I'd prefer that over recasting Mark Hamill. That's all the time we have for questions today. If you want to leave a question for next week's video, just put it in the comments below or sign up for Patreon to join our weekly Q&A discussion. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel.
Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitch.
And as always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.